The Krell warships descended upon the colony like metallic locusts, blotting out the twin suns of Vagrant 7. Skarn crouched behind the shattered remains of a defense turret, his claws digging into the scorched earth. At barely 3 cycles old, he was the eldest of the Predator cubs, 12 younglings who had survived when their transport crashed on this forgotten human outpost. "Stay down," he hissed to the others, his spotted fur bristling with terror. The Krell were systematic exterminators, leaving no world untouched in their conquest. Skarn had heard the stories from the elders before they died in the crash. The Krell showed no mercy to cubs. The ground shook as a Krell walker stomped through the colony's ruins, its plasma cannons charging with an ominous whine. Skarn pressed himself flatter, cursing his species' pride. The Zarathi were apex predators on their homeworld, feared across a dozen systems. But what good were claws and fangs against machines of war? "Skarn, I'm scared," whimpered Kessa, the youngest. Her golden eyes were wide with panic. Before he could answer, a figure emerged from the smoke. Human. Skarn's breath caught. He had seen humans before, soft creatures, weak and slow, barely worth acknowledging. This one was female, covered in dust and blood, carrying nothing but a length of metal pipe and a pack slung across her shoulders. She couldn't have been much older than Skarn in human years. "Rhea, fall back," a voice crackled from her comm device. "The colony is lost." The human, Rhea, ignored the command. She walked directly toward the Krell walker, her stride neither hurried nor hesitant. Skarn's predator instincts screamed that this creature should be fleeing, yet she advanced as though she owned the battlefield. The walker's sensors locked onto her. Its plasma cannon swiveled. Rhea dropped her pack and pulled something from it. A canister. She twisted the top and hurled it with surprising force. The cylinder struck the walker's leg joint and exploded in a cloud of white-hot thermite, melting through the reinforced armor like acid through flesh. The walker stumbled, recalibrating. Rhea was already moving, sliding beneath its chassis with impossible speed for such a fragile species. Skarn heard metallic clanging, then a muffled explosion. The walker's internal systems erupted in sparks. As the machine collapsed, Rhea rolled clear and sprinted toward the cub's position. "Get up!" she barked. "Move. Now." Skarn found himself obeying before his mind caught up. The other cubs followed, scrambling after the human as she led them through the ruins with the precision of someone who had mapped every shadow. Every piece of cover. "Human, there are hundreds of Krell," Skarn panted, struggling to keep pace despite his superior physiology. "You cannot fight them all." "Watch me," Rhea said. She guided them to a collapsed building, ushering the cubs into a reinforced basement. "Stay here. Don't make a sound. What are you doing?" Skarn demanded, his pride stinging at being protected by such a weak creature. Rhea's eyes met his, brown and soft but burning with something Skarn had never seen before. Not anger, not fear. Something colder, more dangerous. "I'm going to teach them why you don't attack human colonies," she said. "Even the abandoned ones." She sealed the door and vanished into the smoke. From their shelter, Skarn and the cubs could only listen. At first there were distant explosions, then closer ones. The Krell attack patterns began to falter, their coordinated advance dissolving into chaos. Through a crack in the ceiling, Skarn glimpsed flashes of combat. Rhea moved like nothing he'd ever witnessed. She used the Krell's own weapons against them, scavenging plasma rifles from fallen soldiers. She rigged traps from colony infrastructure, turning supply depots into infernos. She hacked their communications, broadcasting false coordinates that sent Krell units into ambushes of her own design. But most terrifyingly, she never stopped moving. The Krell were bred for warfare, their endurance legendary. Yet as hours passed, they began to slow while Rhea's pace never wavered. She was everywhere and nowhere, a ghost that bled their forces one soldier at a time. Skarn's species had a saying, "The true predator is the one who never tires." He was beginning to understand what humans actually were. As the second sun dipped below the horizon, the Krell commander made a fatal mistake. He deployed their harvester mechs, massive machines designed to strip planets of resources. Rhea lured them into the colony's fusion reactor complex. The explosion lit up the night like a newborn star. When the light faded, the Krell fleet was already ascending. Their ground forces retreated in disarray, loading survivors onto dropships with frantic urgency. Skarn's sensitive ears caught fragments of their communications, translated by his neural implant. Impossible. One human, not worth the casualties. We should glass the entire sector. The Krell, who had never retreated from any species in living memory, fled. Rhea returned as dawn broke, limping and burned but alive. She unsealed the basement door. The cub stared at her in silence. "The Zarathi rescue ships are 3 hours out," she said, her voice hoarse. "You'll be safe until then." Skarn stepped forward, every instinct telling him to lower his head in deference. On his homeworld, only the Pack Alpha received such a gesture. "Human, Rhea, how?" She looked at him with those soft, deadly eyes. "We're persistent. We don't know when to quit. And we really don't like bullies." She glanced at Kessa and the other cubs, especially ones who go after kids. As Rhea tended to the cubs' wounds with supplies from her pack, Skarn watched her with new understanding. His people had evolved as ambush predators, explosive power for short bursts. They had assumed humans were prey because they lacked claws, fangs, natural armor. They had failed to recognize what kind of predator never stops running, never stops thinking, never stops fighting until either they win or they die. Persistence predators, the most terrifying hunters in nature. When the Zarathi ships arrived, Skarn was the last to board. He looked back at Rhea, who stood amid the ruins she had defended alone. "The council will hear of this," he said. "Of what you did." Rhea just shrugged, already turning away. "Tell them humans don't abandon their posts, even the ones everyone else forgot about." As the ship lifted off, Skarn pressed his face to the viewport, watching the solitary human figure grow smaller. Around him, the other cubs whispered in awe and fear. Skarn said nothing. He simply remembered. The galaxy thought humans were weak because they were soft. But Skarn had learned the truth that day. Humans weren't weak. They were terrifying, and they didn't need to be strong when they simply refused to stop.